We watched Artemis Fowl. Did we think it ruled the roost?
Or are we calling foul?
Hello, welcome back to Visual Recreation. We took a bit of a hiatus, but we are back, and I will have to say it's good to be back, right? How you doing, Joey?
I'm doing great, and yes, it is good to be back, and now Fantasy Movie League is still on a pause, but we pressed play on the new Disney Plus movie, Artemis Fowl.
Oh boy, is that right. Before we get into the review, let's go over the quick synopsis of the movie. Now, Artemis Fowl is a story about a kid genius whose father gets kidnapped. He has to use his smarts to get his hands on the powerful fairy relic called the Oculus and rescue him and the world. The story is based on the first two books of the famous young adult book series called Artemis Fowl.
That's right. Now, this movie stars Ferdia Shaw, which is Artemis Fowl Jr., Laura McDonald, which is one of the main fairy. They're the two leads in this movie.
Yes.
Now, while this cast also flaunts Josh Gad, Colin Farrell, and the Dame Judi Dench, it's rated PG, and it's directed by Kenneth Branagh?
Yeah.
I don't know how to say his name.
Yeah, say his name.
But he wrote and directed Thor and the live-action remake of Cinderella, so...
That is true. Also, I just realized that Dame Judi Dench, who is like a major actress, she's world famous, did a lot of great stuff. Her last two movies is this movie and Cats.
Yeah, no.
That is batting 0 for 2 in your last two up at bats. It's really, really bad. All right, Joey, let's stay away from spoilers for now. I just want to know, what are your overall thoughts of the movie? How familiar were you to the source material? Did you read the books? Did you even know there was a book series until pressing play or hearing about this movie being made? Where are your thoughts lined up with?
I wasn't aware of the books. I didn't know there was a series that apparently everyone loves the books. My overall take on this movie is it was not good. Not what I was not what I was expecting.
And that's coming majorly from you because you are a huge Disney fan. In the Disney household, like Disney, you guys are super into Disney.
Mainly Pixar, but Disney,
Yeah. So I grew up knowing about the books because my friend in middle school loved the books. He even made me buy the first one thinking that we were going to do like a cool like binge the books together. Come to find out he reads really faster than I do and enjoyed the book way more than I did. So he was on like book 2 or 3 by the time I was not even halfway through the first book. It was just a lot of fairies. I'm not huge into the fantasy sci-fi realm, so I just could not get into it. Long story short, I did not like it. I knew about the source material. I did not like it back then, and I definitely do not hold it in high regard right now. Sad to say. Okay, now this movie is getting a lot of negative reviews. If you look at Rotten Tomatoes, IMDb, any movie article writing review site. But I do want to start off on a positive note. So what are some of the positive things you liked about Artemis Fowl?
I mean, I think it had some interesting characters that they could have elaborated more on as far as the world. Sorry, did that not sound positive?
I think it had some interesting characters if they did it right.
Yeah, so, okay, well, besides story, visual effects. I like the visual effects of the characters. They looked really cool.
Some of the visual effects looked
goblins
really good.
Looked cool. Is this giving it too much information? The whole fire scene with the goblins, I thought that was interesting.
I don't even know I don't know what you could really spoil.
Away.
Yeah, I don't even know what we
I mean,
could
you
spoil.
have to decipher something. We're in the positive part right now. So yeah, I thought the visual effects were pretty good. I thought the way the characters looked, as far as the fairies. Now, there is a scene where a troll trashes a wedding. A party scene or whatever, and they slow down the time.
That just threw me because there's another big troll scene that happens later on in the movie.
Later on, yeah.
Oh my gosh,
but this first scene, the way they did that was, I don't know. I enjoyed the scene, and whenever he was like throwing people, I was like, oh my gosh, did he just pick up that little girl?
Yeah.
And then chuck her like a football.
Well, my favorite part was my favorite part about that scene is the short her name is Lieutenant Short, right?
Yeah.
The fairy girl goes, and we gotta look up the names. I gotta look up the name again before we get too far into this.
Yeah.
But the short police girl, fairy, that's trying to help the people at the wedding, she's like super enthralled with the girl, while the troll is still attacking people and throwing them. And I was just like, I think the girl's okay. Like, she's like, I have to heal the girl. And she's like, don't you dare use your magic on her. And then she's just like, I gotta save the girl. Yeah. And then meanwhile, in the background, the troll is like chucking it like it's like a football player throwing these footballs around. I was like, what are you doing? Help the other people. The girl is fine.
Yeah. But I think by then, time was kind of slowed down, right? So when he threw them, they were more like floating. More or less.
No,
floating.
He threw a couple of them before.
It was
Yeah, he was chucking them a couple more times because she's like, hold on, one more minute. All right, she's good now. Where's the other people? It's like this dude has like his leg behind his head, and I was like, what are you doing? You're destroying everybody else. You can save this girl later. Also, she gave her an ice cream cone, and I was like, that's definitely not high on the priority list.
So positive.
Yeah, that was a great positive. I laughed hysterically.
That scene was cool the way they did it, and some of the visual effects I enjoyed. Okay. So what did you like? Anything?
I really liked a lot of the framing. One of the scenes that really got me was, first of all, looking at his house, the shots of Ireland, the school scenes when they're doing like the drone shots, when his dad left. And then he like got up the next morning and was getting milk outside in the kitchen and stuff. I thought the way that
ginormous kitchen area.
Yeah, the ginormous kitchen. You get the feel of how big the house is, and that's all I can really say that's good-ish about it.
Going back to the house real quick, the only thing that I could think of when he walked in the kitchen and grabbed the milk and turned and looked at the TV. Yeah. Was why they have this ginormous house and the TV is just sitting on a tiny table.
Like I thought that too. That was really weird. Also, when he was holding that milk for a really long time, I'm like, I know he's gonna just drop it and it's gonna smash and then he's gonna leave, and it's exactly what happened. Yeah. There was a lot of predictability in this movie, which is not something you want out of a movie. Okay, we're kind of getting into it.
Yeah, I think we're into the next.
I think we now need to go into the next part, which is. What's some of the stuff that didn't work for this movie? A lot of people have written on Rotten Tomatoes, IMDb, user reviews, critical reviews. This movie is getting, it's getting really bad reviews. It's getting terrible reviews. 9% on Rotten Tomatoes the last time I saw, 9 or 10% on Rotten Tomatoes, 22 to 23% on audience reviews. With that being the case, what's some of the stuff that you think didn't work for this film and ultimately leads to these negative reviews coming in for it?
It was very confusing. Things seemed very puzzled together, like a puzzle piece put in thing. You're trying to put the puzzle together when the whole film is being narrated for you, but yet it's still hard to understand. Yeah. And that's one thing that threw me out of it right away. Is Josh Gad's character at the beginning of the movie. He's isolated in this interrogation room in the ocean in these like stilt houses type things, and he's gonna tell an interrogating officer,
oh my gosh,
this kind of a story, like once upon a time. Like it didn't make sense to me.
Yeah, and that voice really took me out of it too. Yeah. I think that's the main thing that took me out, because we all know what Josh Gad sounds like, and I think they wanted to put him forward because he's Olaf. He's known in the Disney community now, and making him use that voice took me out of it so much. Like I kept on clearing my throat, thinking that he had something in his throat. That's all I could think of. I was like, Moats Diggums, I'm gonna tell you what's going on.
Well, you didn't want to hear Olaf.
Artemis
Fowl. Big grumpy character, did you?
Let me tell you about a 12-year-old boy I know. It's like, what? Okay, sure.
You should be able to explain your characters in a different way, especially after reading a review where they say in the books it's Mulch Diggum's character doesn't even narrate any of the story.
I think this movie suffers from what a lot of young adult books adaptations have in movies, and that is just like having this rich world of so much going on that they were able to elaborate over hundreds and thousands of pages and multiple books in a series, and then they're just like, we have to establish everything in this one movie, so it makes sense over the other movies that we're gonna make. Come to find out, if you don't do this first movie well, you're not gonna get more movies out of this.
Right, absolutely.
So I just thought it was just like, you have this like too much going on at once, to where stuff happens, but also stuff doesn't happen at the same time. It's just like, what are we doing? And then also the arc of Artemis Fowl is, he's just bland. All we know about him is that he's smart. And that's pretty much it. That's all I know about him. He likes Einstein, and he's smart, and then that's it.
Yeah, and I mean, like, there was a lot of poorly timed jokes.
Oh my gosh.
That tried to hit, and they didn't. They did not hit. Judi Dench, for instance, I had to look it up. That's what I was doing over here. But she says, "Get the 4-leaf clover out of here." Like,
oh yeah.
It's, you know what she was trying to say, but it's a Disney movie, so she can't say it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Lots of little jokes like that didn't hit.
The gluten joke. Your people are afraid of gluten. What would you think if they were to know that fairies existed and they hated you? And it's like, cool, man. Gluten joke. Got it. Or the David Bowie joke. What do kids love? David Bowie jokes. R.I.P. David Bowie. Everybody's just calling you a fairy in this movie.
Yeah.
And then nothing is explained in this movie. Like, they just have stuff in the movie and they don't explain it whatsoever. Like when Artemis and Judi Dench's character, Root, Commander Root, are in the house talking to one another, trying to figure out where the Oculus is and trying to figure stuff out. And then Artemis is just like, hey, by the way, if you leave my house, you and no fairy is allowed to be in my house. And then it's just like, I guess that's a rule. I guess that's a rule that you could just tell a fairy that, and then fairies are just like, okay, I can't come back in. Got it. Also, we're gonna introduce stuff from the second book, just because we need to get the dad back at the end. Spoiler alert: we got to get the dad back at the end.
I thought we weren't doing spoilers.
Oh, we're doing spoilers. I mean, we're in this. We're in this thing.
We are. I mean, I think that that's probably mostly where it goes wrong. Is you're trying to put 2 books into one movie. A lot of movies that do that are trying to put multiple books in them, they fall a little flat, and this one fell real flat because it made everything confusing. Like, like trying to find where the Oculus is, where it seems like he already knows where it is, and he uses Digums to get it, type thing. So
I think also just Digums in general was just so confusing. Also, I hated when he decided to go into the house. He chomps down on dirt, but because he eats the dirt to tunnel, it has to go somewhere.
Right.
So it comes out of his caboose.
Yeah.
And even though
that was odd. Yes.
Also, when he digs, he doesn't dig deep enough. So you can see him breaking all these stairs and everything leading up to however he gets into the walls in the painting. What is this? A Looney Tunes cartoon?
Right.
Like he digs himself like Bugs Bunny into the house to get into cement. Like this is a castle.
Right.
This isn't made of dirt. This is rock solid brick.
Yeah.
And he gets into the thing through a painting, and he just breaks the painting, and Artemis is like, yeah, just let him come in.
Let him come in. Like, you could have knocked on the door.
I really wish he didn't destroy that painting that we spent how much money on?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. A lot of things working against this movie, as we can see in the reviews.
So let's give a little bit more facts about this movie. This was set to premiere originally in theaters on August 9, 2019.
Wow.
But the film was then delayed for almost a full year to premiere on May 29, 2020. Then the COVID-19 pandemic happened and it came out straight to Disney Plus June 12th of 2020.
Yeah.
Now the budget, how much did Disney pay for this movie, Joey?
So the budget for this movie, which watching this movie, it just seems like it should have been a straight-to-stream movie and should not have tried to come out in theaters.
Disney Channel original movie.
Yes. The budget of this movie was $125 million.
That is a lot of money. That reminds me of a couple of movies. We already talked about the Rotten Tomatoes score, 9% and 22%. When thinking about if theaters stayed open and we didn't have a worldwide pandemic, what would this movie have done in theaters? And we don't think it would do as great. When I think of the look of the movie and the CGI and the futuristic theme, we first looked at Disney's Tomorrowland that premiered in late May of 2015. It made about $33 million in its opening weekend in just over 3,900 theaters. Now, that movie had a budget of around $175 to $190 million.
Yeah.
And that movie did terrible here domestically, but when you calculate its worldwide, it made just over 200 mil. So it kind of broke even, and that had George Clooney in it.
So the other movie, talking about Artemis, it's another book adaptation. Looking for a missing dad type movie was A Wrinkle in Time. That premiered March of 2018, and it only made $33 million in 3,900 theaters.
All right, so very consistent with these like Disney kind of original adaptation kind of books/movies. So if thinking the possibility this movie could possibly have done maybe 28 to 33 mil, if Artemis Fowl premiered in like 39 to 4,100 theaters during May, it could have done something like that. That's terrible, but I'm sure it was trying to bank on its worldwide appeal. But it's not going to get that now. It's just really sunk costs at this point.
Yeah.
Going straight to Disney. I mean, that's a $125 million investment for a Disney Plus exclusive that nobody wants to watch anymore.
Right, yeah.
So for final thoughts, out of a 10 scale rating, out of like 10 stars,
You're gonna make me rate it?
out of 10 glowing acorns, how many glowing acorns would you give it? Also, would you recommend this movie or watch it a second time?
Well, as you asked me that question, laughing,
Oh my god.
to be honest with everyone watching, I initially started this movie, and about 20 minutes in, I was already done with it, and I had to watch it all the way through because I knew it was something that we were going to be talking about to review and discuss with you guys. So I had to finish it. So just the fact that I made it 20 minutes through and I was done with the whole narrating thing, should I even give it 1? I don't know. I'm not going to watch it again. But do you have to give it a score just to be nice?
I guess not.
I mean,
if you don't have to.
Then I'm going to go 0.
Yeah, this is already not my bag. This movie isn't in my wheelhouse. I'm getting into a point where I do like a little bit more science fiction, a little bit more fantasy, but it's still not my favorite. And knowing how much I didn't even get into the book, and it's so much better than this movie, I have to go with, like a 1 glowing acorn out of 10. I mean, I'm not going to watch this. I wouldn't have watched this if we weren't coming back to talk about it. It just was really, really, it was just not good. But what do you guys think about it? Did you watch it? Did you have to watch this? Do you have kids and they wanted to watch it, so you watched it? What did you think about the movie? Let us know in the comment section below. I mean, at least it's only an hour and a half. Yeah. Like, it's literally 95 minutes, but it felt like 3 hours.
Feel long.
It felt so much longer. Over 2 viewings, it felt so much longer.
Yeah, but that's all we have for you guys today. We are glad to be back. Thank you again for watching. If you're joining us again, thanks for watching BizRec, and we'll see you in the next one.
Yeah, the next movie review or what we'll do.
Yeah.
What the heck was that? Was that Scooby-Doo?